Wondering what life is really like on Canada's wild and crazy West Coast? This podcast is all about the people, the places, and Vancouver Island time. Together, we'll explore this island paradise, a combination of ocean, city, and country living. We'll meet the fabulous locals, such as the Fudge Fairy and the Chicken Lady, who have chosen Victoria and Vancouver Island as their home. And we'll learn what makes this place unique and special to those who live here. And now, your host of Vancouver Island Time, Jane Johnston.
Hi, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with CarolynHarries-Duncan of What to Wear with Carolyn. We're going to be talking about the downtown Victoria area as well as her business, which is What to Wear with Carolyn. And she'll talk about the different styles of the West Coast versus other areas in Canada, as well as what it's like to live in beautiful downtown Victoria. So you moved here from Nova Scotia. You've been here for a long time. How was the transition to Victoria?
The transition, I would say, was very easy. There was nothing, we lived in James Bay for the first 4.5 years, which we loved. And I would choose James Bay to live here if I had any part of Victoria to choose.
Were you in a condo or a house?
We were in Orchard House, which is the big tall blue building that's been there forever, for about the first 6 months in a month-to-month rental that was furnished. We rented our house in Nova Scotia when we moved here to see if we liked it. And then we had 2 cats, so we did have to find somewhere that we could have pets, and we found a really nice little cottage at the back of a house on South Turner Street between Simcoe and Niagara. That was perfect.
It's actually really hard to find even a condo to purchase that allows 2 cats.
I think it's worse now than it used to be. It took us about a month to find somewhere, and it was difficult, but it wasn't terrible. People seem to have pets. I think more and more it's harder for people to have pets here. We were very lucky.
We've actually done a meta-analysis of all the condos in downtown Victoria for dog-friendly and cat-friendly. So if you want that information, we can provide it to you. So we've looked at all the rules in different condos. Obviously, it might change over time. But one of the reasons why it does change is because the older the condo, the more rules that they have. And obviously, James Bay is one of the oldest areas in Victoria. Okay, so now you're in downtown Victoria. Mm-hmm. You're right beside Faux Lapis, one of my favorite kind of bakeries.
We're not beside Faux Lapis. We're in the same building.
You're above it.
Yes. Faux Lapis is next door to the lobby of our building.
Do you love it?
The food is fantastic. Cliff, who is the owner, is fabulous. Staff is great. I have nothing against it. I do find it quite loud. It's got one of those open kitchens, and it's got a very tall ceiling. And I just find that, for me, loudness in a restaurant is a little overpowering. So I use the bakery actually more than I use the restaurant.
Okay, so where do you go to hang out for food around here?
I have lots of places that I like to go. I am somebody who is not a posh eater. So
I'm not a posh eater.
Yes. I like street food. I like small plates. So I'm not somebody who really is drawn to fancy restaurants, to be honest. So we have a plethora of really great places where you can get small plates. Bodega is one of my favorites. I am not really a drinker, but they do a lovely sherry and port. So a nice little sipping drink works for me. And Gordon and I quite often will share plates. So that's a fabulous place. Perro Negro is very similar. We love Northern Quarter. It's right opposite the Hudson Building. And it's the owner, Benji, used to own Fort Street Cafe. So it's fabulous. It's a great atmosphere. They have live music on the weekends, and that's one of our absolute favorite places to go and sit down and eat. Takeout food is foo every time. and it's literally across the street. The Mint is fantastic because it's very reasonable, and also when you go into the Mint, you go downstairs and it's kind of dark and a little bit unusual, lots of brick. But I like places that when I go to them, I can imagine that I'm not where I am. So I like to go into places and I could be in London, or I could be in New York, or I could be in any other city, somewhere that takes you away for a little getaway, but you're not actually traveling anywhere. Yeah, I could go on, but those are some of my favorite places.
Are you a brunchy person?
I do like brunch, but I will not wait in line.
Is it hard to find a good place for brunch downtown without a lineup?
Yes.
Somebody was saying, was it the Blue Fox?
Yes, the Blue Fox Blue Fox Jam,
John's Place.
John's Place, when Floyd's used to be there. They're just crazy busy. So, in the middle of the summer, if it's nice, I don't mind standing outside, but I don't line up for very much. So I'm not going to line up for food.
Okay, so tell me, we just mentioned a bit of weather there. What do you think about the weather in Victoria?
Weather doesn't bother me here. I'm British.
So equate that to it rains.
It rains. I don't think it rains as much as people say it rains. For me, so I like to tell people who come into the store and we're chatting, there's two kinds of weather in Victoria. This is my slant on things. There is very bright sunny days, and in general, and especially because we live on the coast, the very bright sunny days are cold because there is a cold wind coming off the ocean. If you're further up north, not up north, if you're further up island, even just, at the top of Quadra, you can be 6 or 7 degrees different temperature from downtown.
Like near the university.
Yeah, exactly. I don't particularly like the wind. So I really like the sunny days, but the fact that that wind is very cold is not my favorite. And then we have rainy days that are mild. They're gray days, but they're mild. And quite often there's not very much wind. They say it's going to rain, but if you look at the percentages, if it says it's going to, 30% chance, chances are it's going to be a quick shower. If it says 90%, we're probably going to have a downpour all day, which we've had a little bit lately. And people are getting crazy lately because it's been raining and everyone's really upset. But we had, I think, the driest October. We had one of the driest Novembers. We need rain. This is winter for us. So the rain really doesn't bother me. I mean, after a while, yes, I'd like to be somewhere warm and I'd like to be somewhere sunny, but I'd rather be able to be out enjoying being outside in a drizzle than being outside when it's really sunny and I feel like my ears are going to freeze. So I don't mind that weather.
I find here too, like the water is not as big. The drops aren't as big as they are in Vancouver. Like if you go to Vancouver and it rains, like you need an umbrella. Here it doesn't matter.
Well, I think Vancouver in general gets way more rain. If you look, my husband's obsessed with weather, so we have the Weather Channel on quite often. And if you look at what they're predicting for the amount of rain in Victoria, it might say 1 to 5 millimeters or centimeters. I don't know what they do. But for Vancouver, it'll say 20 to 30 on the same day. So I think they just get way more rain.
I think also being at the southern tip of the island too, because the weather does go over us. So this morning I drove from Machosen, which is southwest of downtown Victoria, up island over what's called the Malahat to Shawnigan Lake, and it was snowing up there.
Yeah.
So I always think we're lucky. We are in a little bubble just right in the Victoria area.
We are. And when I used to have a job that was up at the top of Quadra, and I used to take the bus, and once you get past Cloverdale, you see the frost on the rooftops. Quite often there's no frost on the rooftops this end, but once you get past Cloverdale, you're into a different climate.
Yeah, and it's interesting you were saying about James Bay, because it is moderated more by the ocean down there. So actually in the summer, it's about 5 degrees cooler as well.
Well, if you ever walk along Dallas Road and you look at the trees, you can see that the trees are bent a certain way, because you never see people on their balconies on Dallas Road, ever.
Yeah, I always say you don't want to buy waterfront down there. It's too windy.
Yeah. I'd buy it 3 streets back.
Okay, and then so what about hanging out, entertainment? What do you do entertainment-wise? You're a member of the Union Club.
I am, and so there is regular entertainment at the Union Club. Yeah, entertainment here I find an interesting one. It's not really a hive of entertainment for me personally. There is tons going on. I'm a moviegoer, so cinema right next door, and one across the street, so that's very easy, and another one down on Humboldt, the Vic Theatre, so that's very easy. We've got great theatre, so I do like going to the theatre. I'm not, again, noise. I don't really hit the bars or the nightclubs very much, so I don't really know much about them. That's not really my thing.
We do have big name entertainers who come though. What now?
Yes, and we do at the arena. So I'll go to the arena, but like there are smaller clubs where there's lots of entertainment going on, and I know people who take full advantage of that and they have a fantastic time. I do lots of events, philanthropic events, and things like that. So that's quite a lot of my entertainment, and getting together with friends and just going somewhere that you can sit down and have a nice chat and connect.
Do you find that, so we know each other because we're both on the foundation sort of committee for the Victoria Hospital Foundation. Do you find that Victoria is very philanthropic?
Yes. There are things that happen here that, to be honest, I never had been involved in before. I don't mean like special things. It's just when we did live in Nova Scotia, and because we were about an hour and a half outside of Halifax on the South Shore, I didn't really know very much about being involved in events where you're giving back to the community. So there it was things that happened in the town halls, or, the little groups of people who got together. But I'm sure in Halifax there's probably a thriving industry of events there. But to drive an hour and a half to go and do something like that was not something that I was ever really exposed to. So living and working in Victoria, one of the first people that I met here was Philip Bissett-Cavanero, who started the Young Entrepreneur Society, the Yes Group. And so we've known Philip pretty much since he started it. And I think that was the first one that I was ever involved in. That then from that one, there was networking. And at the time I was managing an art gallery. So we were doing events in the gallery to try and encourage new people to come to the gallery. So I think for businesses, it's a really great way to be involved in the community. And it's just mind-boggling how many events go on every year and how many people are involved in trying to raise funds for things. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are a small town. We have a small population. So there's just not enough money coming from any municipality or government to be able to take care of things. So you have to look to each other to try and raise some of those funds, and that's what we do.
Different corporations will invite groups into their businesses. Like we've been to the 8th Street Tap House and they gave $10 for every meal to our rowing club. And then we've, I know Fluvog's been involved in fundraising for the community as well. So you can, if you want to raise money, you can go. They'll appreciate the fact that you're bringing people into their store, and then they'll give some of the proceeds. So that's really handy. Anything else you want to add about living in Victoria? Top 3 things.
It's beautiful here.
It's really pretty and quaint.
It is. But it's not just pretty and quaint. Like it's stunning. There are stunning views here. So, not outside my window, unfortunately, but I do know people who have those views. But I've traveled a lot and I've gone to a lot of places, and I can see why people are drawn to Victoria because it is really stunning. I don't think anywhere compares to Victoria in terms of the beauty and the views. And I can walk up to Government House and you just get this beautiful panoramic view. In Gonzales, where the old observatory used to be, is a beautiful walk up. Like there's so many areas that you can walk in Victoria. And the view is just right there all the time. It's like right in your face. So it is. So I think there are places further up island which would be beautiful adventures in terms of, like the wildlife and the wilderness. I'm not so good in the wilderness. I'm very much better when I'm connected with people. So to have that right here on your doorstep, I think we're really lucky. The fact that I can walk everywhere is the big thing for me. I grew up in England where public transportation is fabulous, and when I was growing up, people didn't have cars as much as they do now. I know they have more cars there now, but we got used to walking to places, and I still love to walk. So that's a big thing. And really the people that I've met, that's the third thing here for me, is that I've made some really good friends here, and I'm sure I would have made friends wherever I went, but obviously, you're on a path, and my path was to come here, and we've made some really great connections. So I'm really grateful for that.
Awesome. So obviously everybody has to move here because it's the most fabulous place in the world to live. We are in Victoria, BC, and I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun. Stay tuned because we're going to be back. Carolyn's going to talk to us about her business, which is What to Wear with Carolyn, and we'll find out what you should be wearing, and it's not the same for everyone. All right, take care. Have a great day.
Vancouver Island Time is brought to you by the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun, Victoria, where we bring local expertise and global presence to your property.
Hi, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with CarolynHarries-Duncan.
Hello, Jane.
So you're a pretty happening person. I mean, look at how she's dressed, and look how I'm dressed.
I think you look great.
I look very casual, but I was out showing a property in the middle of nowhere this morning. I'm just wondering, though, for you, what do you think about the style of Victoria? Because that's your business.
It has slowly started to change. So that was a bit of a culture shock when I first moved here. And not that it was a bit of a culture shock from Nova Scotia, because that was not in any way more so. I think the athletic wear here and the sweatpants and the flip-flops and the Lululemon phenomenon was not something that I had really come upon in Nova Scotia. So most of Victoria, when I first moved here, felt like I was on Salt Spring. And Salt Spring is fantastic, but it's not where I would choose to live. So I thought there would be more of a downtown feel, but Victoria really is a very small town. I know it's a city, they call it a city, but it is still a very small town. So it's slowly starting to change, and we have some really fabulous women and men in Victoria who are dressing in a way that really kind of pops and shines, and I think that's fantastic. But yeah, it's starting to change. It was hard when I was first here. Everything I would wear outside, people would just be like, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" As if I was going to some big gala. And I felt like I was just getting ready to go out the door.
Yes, well, today it's interesting that we are talking a bit about clothing, is because I was on a website and for realtors, and we were talking about whether or not you wear jeans to work. And I definitely wear jeans because sometimes I'm going to be crawling over a sty or into a basement or whatever. But do you find that so West Coast style means more relaxed than other big cities? Like if you go to Toronto, everyone's wearing black all the time, but you're right about the athletic wear, but are we incorporating it into our work, or is it just because that's our leisure style?
I tend to think people dress in a way that they're comfortable with and what they know. And so if that's what they started to wear in the beginning, that's what they're still wearing. And I don't think we can compare Victoria to any big city. So you can't compare Victoria to Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, or anywhere, because it's not a city in terms of style or culture. We have a lot of culture here. We have great theater. We have, the ballet. We have lots of things that happen. It's very philanthropic, lots of events. But the everyday, day-to-day wear is still very small town. So I think people get into the habit of what they wear, and then they tend to stick with that. So yeah, it's an interesting topic, because I think people don't really have an idea of what to wear in terms of different events. They know how to dress up or they know how to dress down. It's very hard to find that balance in between.
Okay, so I'm a sweater person, as you can tell. I have now an assortment of sweaters and it's very comfortable. Do you think what people wear affects how people perceive them? Like, how important is it what they wear to how people perceive them, I guess?
I was always taught that first impressions are very important, and also that you are what you wear. So generally, if you see somebody, this is my opinion, if somebody sees somebody looking very disheveled or not really put together, chances are if you go to their home's going to be very similar. One of the key things that we were taught when I was a child was, if you look at somebody's shoes, you can tell what kind of person they are by the way they treat their shoes or how they care for their shoes. So if they're wearing shoes that are really not very well taken care of, chances are their closet will not be taken care of very well. They're maybe not the tidiest person. They don't really put things together very well. I think it is important, but that's my opinion about things. I wouldn't force it on anybody. I would prefer to maybe help people see that it can change how people regard you if there are things that you incorporate into your everyday. And so if that helps you in your business or in your love life or in the way you hold yourself, or if it increases your confidence and makes you feel great, then I think that's certainly a way that you could look at making small changes.
So in your company, what's it called?
What to Wear with Carolyn.
So in your company, for how do you work with people to determine what their look is?
It depends what they're coming to me for. If they're coming to me for a closet makeover, say, because maybe they've had a change in their circumstances, maybe they've had a change in their body structure, maybe they just never really knew how to put things together, I would sit down first and have a consultation and find out what is holding them back in deciding what to do, or the things that they would like to find out about and be able to incorporate for themselves. And then we would dive into the closet, excuse me, and see what we could do in the closet already, what's there. Quite often there are things that people don't realize that they're not using, or that they can maybe make slight changes to, so it doesn't have to cost an awful lot to make a big change. If somebody is pretty sure about what they would like to portray, then I might suggest doing a personal shopping trip, and we would go and I would help them find the places that they can find the things that they can bring into their closet, and help them make choices that are maybe better choices than they've been able to do previously.
So do you pre-shop for people?
I can do. I can do whatever somebody wants. If somebody says, hey, this is what I'm looking for, I can source it for them. I can bring it to them. I can fit it to them at the time. I can take it away and get changes made. I can bring it back. I can go from start to finish.
So did this business come as a result of seeing how people are dressing and how it's not really, I guess, jiving with who they are as a professional?
It came from a few different places, but one of the things that I found was, so I've previously been managing, and still 2 days a week manage, a men's clothing store downtown. And it was really interesting to work with people and see them coming in, and quite often with their wives or loved ones, and being in something that was not very flattering to their body shape, and seeing how people wear clothes. In general, I find men, which is what I've been working with for a while now, tend to wear things quite big and loose because they don't really want to feel the clothing, because it's that comfort level. So they get used to wearing things that don't really flatter their physique. And quite often the wives and loved ones feel that they're not really portraying themselves the way that they could. And so to see somebody get into something where they suddenly see that they have a physique, they're suddenly introduced to something that was always there, but they never saw it, they just kind of stand up a little bit taller, and they just have a different viewpoint of who they are and what they're seeing. And I love that transformation. So that was the first thing that kind of went off and said, okay, so maybe I can do this with people outside of a store where I'm working, so that I could have a business for myself.
I think also too, like for me, when I started with the Women Network, I did not know how to dress. My hair is totally different. I show up at all those events dressed very professionally. And then when I work with people and I'm meeting them casually, you know, how people, as you said, people dress casually. I try and mirror what somebody else is wearing so that they feel comfortable with me. So that's sort of my philosophy. But at the same time, for formal events and for business events, I want to be dressed and have a certain look so that I appear consistent, especially for conferences and stuff. That's been my motivation. How important are shoes to finishing the look? I'm a shoofy person.
I knew you were asking me that because you love your shoes, which is fantastic. It's nice to have a focal point. It's nice to have one thing that you start with and say, okay, how can I dress the rest of my outfit around this one thing? I think shoes are important depending on how important they are to the individual. Some people don't care about shoes. I think as long as the shoes look like you're taking care of them, it's not that big of a deal. For myself, I'm a jacket person. So I do love shoes, but I found as I'm aging, it's harder and harder to find shoes that I am comfortable in, that I can wear for any period of time, that I really enjoy.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I noticed the other day in your Instagram that you were dressed to the nines and you were wearing really comfortable looking shoes. And I thought, to me, that outfit works because it is practical.
Yes. And I know the shoes that you're referring to, and they are my pretty much everyday shoes. So that's one of the things that I've made changes in, because I now will dress in a way that I can wear my comfortable shoes, which are not shoes. I mean, they're very smart shoes, but they're flatter. They're more of a brogue type of shoe, which, you know, is a lace up and not necessarily the most attractive shoes. It's, you know, maybe one or two levels above a Birkenstock. I haven't got into, I'm sorry, Birkenstock, but I haven't got into shoes that for me are just, they don't finish an outfit. So a shoe for me has to finish an outfit. It has to work with the outfit. But I can't wear heels in the same way that I used to. So it is important, but I think it's important to the individual. So you have to work with the things that you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, so recently I've bought a few Fluvogs, and I find that they're so dressy, I really have to up my dress.
Well, you don't. You feel like you do, but you don't. But Fluvogs are a very individual shoe. So they suit your personality because you like to be very individual. And I think that's fantastic. And I would have more of them if I could find ones that were comfortable for me. I do have a pair. I've had a few pairs, but they don't work for me as easily as they work for you. I wish they would, because I really think they're fabulous.
Okay, so who's your ideal client?
My ideal client is really, it's a gamut. I like working with people who want to know a lot. So people who are maybe starting out, just working maybe for the first time, who really don't have an idea of how to put what I call a capsule closet. I don't call it, that's what it's called. A capsule closet, where you create a closet that you can mix and match and have fewer pieces, but they all work together. It's very cost effective. So people who have not had the opportunity to fill their wardrobe up already and are intimidated by diving into that, people who really just want to know how to be more confident, they would like to develop more of an individual sense of style. I work with men and women. I work with anybody really who wants to dive in and say, hey, I need some help in my wardrobe.
Right. So whether it be their existing wardrobe or finding a new one.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's a simple case of going in and seeing what you have and adjusting what you have. Sometimes there are simple things like shortening sleeves, shortening the length of something, maybe cutting a dress in two so that you have a top if you love the top part but you don't like the bottom part. And quite often it's just very simple things that can be done and you still keep your favorite things but you wear them in a different way.
Okay, and so how do people get in touch with you?
Excuse me. You can reach me on my Facebook page, What to Wear with Carolyn. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. My telephone number, which you can reach me on my cell, is 250-532-3642.
Okay. All right. So if you want more information about what to wear, talk to Carolyn with What to Wear with Carolyn. And if you want more information about the downtown Victoria area, talk to me. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun. Take care and have a great day.
Welcome to the neighborhood. We hope you have had some insight into West Coast living. If you know of someone or someplace that should be highlighted in our podcast, we love to hear from you. Please go to VancouverIslandTime.com and click on our Connect button. See you next week on Vancouver Island Time with Jane Johnston.